Welcome back to Altered Life, and welcome back to the Altered YJ project. In this video, we're going to be installing more Motobilt parts, so you know it's going to be a good one. If you saw my last video, you watched how we installed these Motobilt corner guards, or corner armor, and that whole process turned out awesome. I mentioned in that video that what was coming up next is our Motobilt below the tailgate armor, so that's what we're going to get into today. Let me show you guys all the parts that come with this. Here is everything included when you order your below the tailgate armor. So we have our armor piece itself, which is 3/16 grade 44 steel. We have 8 Nutserts and 8 countersunk Allen head bolts. The Nutserts are a 5/16 18, and it's the same Nutsert that's used with the corner armor as well. So if you watch that video, you saw all the tools that we needed for that. So we're going to need our Nutsert tool, as well as a drill and drill bits. Some other additional tools we may need are some clamps to help clamp this to the body to line it up, since I'm doing this by myself. And then I'm going to use a marker and a center punch to mark the holes so we can drill them. As you can see, there's not much to this, and hopefully it'll be a quick install. So let's jump right into it. I have it clamped in place. Now, there is not much area to clamp this. I used 2 smaller C-clamps along this tailgate edge, and they're just hanging on by the corners though. I would highly recommend having an extra set of hands for this because it's not easy to get this lined up. I'm gonna give you an up-close look on the edges here just to see what we're looking at. My Jeep on the driver's side was in an accident years ago. It had a bunch of repair work done to it before I owned it, so my driver's side body is not the straightest, and I think that's why this gap is a little bit larger than that gap over there. As you can see, here's that gap on mine, but I have the edge of this plate right in line with the edge of the opening on the tailgate. You come over here, I have this edge right in line with the opening on the tailgate there too. That's how mine looks, and then I have it just below the bottom edge of this tailgate lip there. And then the underside is a pretty even space all the way across. I'm happy with its location. I'm going to take my paint marker and I'm going to mark each of the holes, and then I'm going to center punch each of the holes. Alright, I have all the holes marked. Now I'm going to take my hammer and center punch, and I'm going to center punch each of these holes. Alright, well, I have the paint marks marked. Now the holes are center punched. The next step is to take a 1/8 inch drill bit and drill our pilot holes. The 5/16 Nutserts require a pretty large bit, and the largest bit that I have currently is a 1/2 inch. I think it's the next size up from a 1/2 inch is the bit we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill through with a 1/2 inch, and then I'm just going to wall the hole out a little bit, just enough until the Nutsert snugly fits in. We have all of our holes drilled out to a 1/2 inch. Now, to show you what I was talking about, here's our Nutsert, our supplied Nutsert, and it won't quite go in the hole. Like, it starts to, but it's not quite there. So the size up from a 1/2 inch is probably the best bet, but since I don't have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go hole by hole and just kind of wall it out until the Nutsert fits. We still want a snug fit, so we don't want to wallow too much. So if you're doing the same process I am with this, periodically check. That way you make sure you don't wallow out too much, which I recommend just getting the right size drill bit. All right, there we go. So just a little bit, and that's actually a little, it's not bad. It's a little too loose. I might have wallowed that one out a little bit too much. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of these holes like that and verify fit me in the Nutsert, and I'll be right back with you. So I have all the holes sized to fit the Nutsert snugly. And I know what you guys are probably thinking. He was so OCD to make sure that it was the same on each side, but then I go and oversize and wallow out these with a drill bit. You know, let me live my life. Don't judge me. I know that that was not the proper way to do it, but I gotta work with what I have right now. It's quarantine. I can't leave the house. That's gonna be my excuse. I can't leave the house to go get the drill bit because we're on quarantine. Yeah, I'm going with that. Since we drilled this hole, there's raw metal here. So I like to just put a dab of paint in there. That way it helps protect it just that little bit more. I know it's not probably a super necessary step, but I like to do it. And then even for my project, it's really not necessary because I am sending my whole body out for paint and body work after the fact. And they'll probably just paint over the Nutserts and seal it all in that way. But I'm here. So I'm just gonna use my orange paint marker and just run around. If you don't have a paint marker or a color match paint pen for your Jeep, you can just take some spray paint on a piece of cardboard and dip a Q-tip in it and just run it around the edges. That works as well too. So just gonna throw a little bit of paint on, and then we will get to actually installing the Nutsert. Now we're gonna take our Nutsert tool, take our Nutsert, throw it onto the tool. And something else I like to do is I take this clear RTV silicone and I just squeeze a little bit out on the Nutsert itself. Just like that. And then I just spread it around there. Don't need much, just a little bit if you want to do this step. What that does, it's an adhesive, so it's going to help keep the Nutsert from spinning, and it's also going to help seal it as well. So from there, we take our tool, get our Nutsert in, and squeeze our handles together, which mine... All right, squeeze the handles together, as you can see. Now, it's in there good. I'm going to unscrew it. I might have squeezed a little too hard. It's not too bad. It pushed out some of the silicone sealant, so I'm gonna wipe that off. And there we go. We have a threaded hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it to the other 7. And we're about done. And just like that, we have 8 threaded holes. We have all of our Nutserts installed. Our last and final step is we got to take our armor and our Allen head countersunk bolts and bolt it up. The bolts that are for this kit use a 3/16 Allen head, countersunk Allen head. So all you need is a 3/16 Allen and screw it on there. Instead of screwing in every bolt, I'll just go ahead and do this. I can do better than that. Let's rewind it and try it again. We're gonna try putting it on this way. Well, there it is. It's on. But now that gap looks a little bit bigger. Why does that gap look bigger? Damn it. All installed. And even though I tried to measure really well, it's still off a little bit. That gap's just a bit larger than that gap. It sucks because my body's not straight. I'm working with what I have, but oh well. It looks good. We back up a little bit. Once all the armor is paint matched, it'll be really, really hard to tell. As you can see, hardware. It's all countersunk. There's that little bit larger gap versus the smaller gap. I mean, we're close to the gap size. It's barely noticeable, but I notice it. It's a super simple install. Just take your time, get the right tools, and it should take you about an hour. Well, that's it for this install. And as you can see, if you have the corner armor, it ties everything together pretty nicely. I really like the way it looks, and it's just adding that much more rigidity to the body in the rear here. So hopefully, if I smash it up against a tree or rocks, it'll just keep everything from crinkling or bending. If you'd like to get one of these for yourself, head over to Motobilt.com. As well as if you want to get some corner armor or maybe a rear stretch kit. Motobilt has a lot of great products for the Jeep YJs. It's one of the main reasons that I'm a big fan of the company is just because there's not many companies out there that make high quality American made products for the older Jeeps like this. As you guys can see during this whole quarantine situation, it's important to support American made companies. So get out there and buy American. But with that wraps up this install. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more on this Altered YJ project, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And with that, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.